New year, new you, huh? It doesn't have to be a new year for me to be a new me. It's also not a new me, it's a version of me that's wiser, more creative, more confident. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wanted to talk today about the art of going all in. In today's video, I really wanted to take the moment and kind of summarize what I've been working on recently, and a lot of it has been kind of figuring out what it actually means for me personally. My version of going all in, I think it looks different for everyone. And as I've been on the journey of being an artist, pursuing acting, coming from a dancing background, as a child I always was into arts. I was dancing mostly. That's sort of also how I got to the US. I was born in Ukraine, grew up in Germany, got to US through dancing. Things look different in 2026. I think it's less about the hustle and more about taking intentional steps. But that requires kind of getting really clear on your vision and your dreams and what you want in your life, what you don't want. So a lot of it has to do with discernment. And I think last year the biggest lesson I have learned was discernment. There was a lot of lessons in there. And I think through those lessons I learned what was most important, what I value the most, and it kind of cleared out my path. So for me, going all in means going and pursuing acting. And a lot of it has to do with training, putting myself out there, being more visible as a talent and not hiding so much, not making myself small, putting myself out there. And I think for artists, that can be a really vulnerable thing to do, right? Especially recording a YouTube video or posting on social media, or reaching out to representation and putting yourself out there and auditioning and meeting new people and networking and socializing, right? But I think once you get clear on that vision and what you really want to do, those things kind of start to unfold organically, and you can kind of see, okay, does this fit with my vision? Should I give the time into this? Or should I, you kind of start to see where you should be pulling back and where you should move forward, even though sometimes it might mean stepping through fear. A lot of this stuff comes from our inner child woundings. And I actually have done a lot of inner child work, kind of going through different phases, different ages, really tuned in through meditation. And I love To Be Magnetic work. They had this returning to magic challenge, I think, earlier this year, and it was so good because it was like going through each phase of your childhood and really meditating on it, and really they called it deep imaginings, and it really goes deep into your subconscious mind and figure out what was that as a child that you really wanted to do. And it's crazy how much of that actually confirms your path now and where you want to go and who you want to be, because a lot of it comes from that inner child, the hobbies, the things that made you want to, be an artist or pursue some type of performance or some type of art. I think inner child work is really important for artists to really understand why they have such big ambition and such big drive for certain things, right? But then at the same time, we have a hard time putting ourselves out there, right? So there's a lot of visibility wounding that we have. And that's what I've been working through. And, at first when you uncover all this stuff, like, you kind of feel really raw. And you feel you have to, like, sit with yourself and give yourself the needs that were not met in your childhood. You have to kind of figure out what those are and then give that to yourself. So for me, a lot of it was with having a consistent routine for myself, because consistency was kind of lacking in my childhood. And so I needed this support. And I was trying to figure out, how can I give that to myself, right? So, like, let's say I'm going all in, right? But if I'm lacking the support that I need, or if I'm lacking the consistency that I need, or the morning routine that I need, I'm not going to feel safe. Basically, in manifestation terms, I'm not going to feel safe to connect to that dream or manifestation, if you believe in manifestation. But I like to kind of have like a more practical approach to things. I'm not like, I obviously believe that there's a higher calling for all of us, and there's something, a bigger power than us for sure. But I'm also, I think, mostly spiritual, but also I'm just more practical with it. Always kind of searching for truth, right? So, like, it needs to make sense to me. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm not buying it, whether it comes to manifestation or certain beliefs or things like that. Anyway, but I think ultimately we have to find those things that make us feel safe enough to be able to go for that, make us feel safe enough to be visible, to put ourselves out there in an authentic way as well, And I think that's the hardest work to do, but it's so rewarding, because it just kind of confirms and validates certain things that deep inside are there, but you just can't quite figure out what's holding you back. I had to work through so much of, like, my body literally was holding me back. Like, I just couldn't express myself. Like, there was almost like a wall, Like, I was at acting class, and people have told me, you definitely have a big guard around you, And I'm like, yeah, I know. But it's like, how do I break through this, It was definitely a hard thing to break through, but I really knew that it was also holding me back in terms of really going for what I wanted to go for. And the big thing was overcoming that fear, overcoming those wounds, the creativity wounds, the visibility wounds. I think we all have them somehow in our childhood. But I think getting more clear, understanding it, and understanding what I need now has helped me so much. I'm also really studying nervous system now. Because there's a lot of protective parts, and I'm like, I want to understand all the protective parts. So I'm reading books on that now, and it's actually really, really interesting how we regulate our nervous system nowadays, which has a lot to do with safety and connection. Connection is also a huge, huge thing. So anyway, big part of me going all in is also working on myself, working on overcoming those wounds, working on getting vulnerable with myself before I can get vulnerable, in front of the camera or for projects or things like that. I think that's also part of why I kind of took a break from YouTube, because I needed to really sit with myself and really understand and process all that and integrate what I was learning, so that way I could come back and not feel so raw. And when you do this type of work, you feel really raw. And so I also was busy with work, and so I was like, I need to figure out where I put my energy in now, what's the most important thing. And at that time, it was just focusing on my work and focusing on understanding all this that was happening inside, that was blocking me from really going all in. There comes a time where you're like, okay, now I need to just take practical steps, right? And so one of the meditations that I did was actually about what I would have done if I could go to any school, if I could study anything that I wanted to, right? If I had the choice in my life to just do whatever I wanted without any limitations. And the thing that came up, it was like a meditation that I was walking on, and the thing that came up so clearly was I would have done like an MFA for like acting or filmmaking. Maybe if I grew up in LA, maybe I would have done that. Um, so then it kind of clicked to me. I'm like, okay, maybe that's the work. Maybe that's what it means to go all in. Is I have I'm in LA. I have all the best acting classes here. There's so many books on acting and filmmaking. There's so many amazing creators now online that I could follow that are so inspiring that I could learn from. There's so many tutorials. There's YouTube nowadays where people sharing their skills. Um, and also being on set, I also work as a stand-in and I get to learn a lot because you get to work with the camera people, with the crew, with the actors. You get to learn blocking, you get to learn lights, you get to learn, the different camera angles, the different lenses that they're using, medium shot, close-up shot. Like, it's basically a film school for me, and I love every single day that I'm there. I'm like, I feel so lit up to be here, even though sometimes it can be 12 or 14-hour days and it's a really long day. But I just feel like I'm in the right place. And I think those moments are really key to figuring out what you truly want, because when something lights you up like that and it constantly keeps knocking back on your door, that's something to look at. So one of the things I'm going all in is really, I kind of created my own MFA program. So there's book lists for inner work, there's a book list for acting. I'm also going to acting classes, and I'm obviously working as a stand-in. I'm also putting myself out there and auditioning for short films and smaller projects, because I'm still pretty new in terms of acting goes, even though I've been SAG since 2016, so that's been 10 years. But I haven't fully given myself the shot to go all in. And I'm finding out jobs that give me the flexibility to be able to pursue that, to be able to be available more, right? Which full-time jobs are hard because you can't be available. And so going all in also means, okay, I cannot take a full-time job right now. That might sabotage certain opportunities for me, right? So I've been really focusing on contract jobs and freelance. So luckily that has been working out so far. Obviously it's way less money than what I was doing when I was working as an art director for different brands. But I have a bigger vision now, and I feel like that's my true calling. I've done so much work and so much uncovering and so much discovery. More about getting clear on who I am, what kind of type of actor I am, what kind of roles would I be best for, what do I truly care about, which for me is less about surface level stuff. I'm really more about complex characters and roles that have like a lot of layers, because I feel like me as a person, I have so many layers. And I love like the contrast between characters and really digging into like what drives them and what are their biggest fears, and like the whole self-discovery kind of rolls over to my acting work because I enjoy the discovery of the characters as well. And so, but also I have to study that, I have to understand, which helps me with the inner child work as well. Now I know the inner child phases, which I can also apply that work to a character. I think the more I learn these things too, the more confident I feel, because being on camera, I'm not too shy about being on camera. I have been on camera with some of the biggest directors out there. I also just filmed my first lead role in a short film, which comes out this spring. Very exciting. And I had a lot of fun working on that character. She's a tough cookie, but I share a lot of her wounds, I would say. And I think my personal inner work really helped discover her and understand her as well. Ultimately came back to the inner work that I did, which is choosing myself. And I think too many times I have chosen other things over myself, other people over myself, relationships. I got lost in the relationships. I got lost in jobs. I got, swayed away from what I truly wanted to do. And it took a lot of sitting down with myself and really figuring that out, what it's like to choose myself, to choose my own path. I still might get swayed away. I still might do things temporary here or there, but I know that I can always redirect back to my dreams, my goals, my vision. And I think that's what keeps me going, is knowing that I now know I have a routine of how I will redirect back and pull my focus away from what's not aligning with that path and focusing on what's aligning.